Okay, alrighty then. So this is going to be a little bit of a summary or description of this CNC lathe behind me here. It has a very deceptive name. It's a PD200 by Hahn&Kolb. Hahn&Kolb is a very large tooling dealer here in Germany. Always has been. I think it's the history of the company is like over 100 years now. Unfortunately, they have the habit of always acting like they're a producer and not just a dealer. They actually did own some companies to make some stuff, but in reality it's 99.9%. They buy stuff, they slap their name on it, and then they resell it. I guess in the US that would be a little bit like McMaster, but Hahn&Kolb is really hardcore machine tool dealing stuff, you know, yeah, of all kinds of any tool you need to run a machine shop. In reality, this machine was made by a company called Kern, which unfortunately just closed its doors about 2 years ago. But this was made by the original Kern company, which went broke in about 92, 93. And the reason they did go bankrupt at that point in time is because Hahn&Kolb went broke in 92 approximately. Now, I don't understand how a dealer who doesn't make anything can go broke. I guess you have to ask a person with a business degree how somebody can go broke not really doing anything and just putting names on stuff. But they did go broke. And because they were so dominant in Germany, and they were always making sure that only their name appeared on stuff, and many companies had Hahn&Kolb as their only sales outlet. That meant that when Hahn&Kolb went broke, a lot of other companies went broke too, because they didn't have anybody selling their stuff anymore, and they didn't even have all the data of who all the customers were, because Hahn&Kolb was making damn sure that only they were making real money. Now, and that was not only happening to the Kern company, there were other companies that happened to also, including the company, almost happened, to the company that actually owns this machine. So Hahn&Kolb went broke, Kern went broke, and then Hahn&Kolb was restructured and they continued under the same name. And Kern, it took them like a year or two, and then they had like some sort of buyout and they were refounded under the name of DMT. And under DMT they continued business and they're still around, but about 2 years ago they stopped producing machines, which is very, very, very sad, because they were making excellent machines of very, very high quality, but they have always been a bit of a niche. Yeah, they were occupying a niche in the machine tool world, and I think most of the machines that they were made were cycle lathes. So this is one of the not so many actual real slant bed CNC lathes that they made. This particular machine was sold to a trade school, and then it went from the trade school to a very large, very renowned company in that area, where it continued its life in the education department, because good companies in Germany also educate their own apprentices. And then, yeah, then it was supposedly had a defect, which was not really true, and it got sold off. So this was 2,500 euros. Eh? So that's the whole reason I'm doing these talks, is to show how cheap you can buy very nice, fully functional machines that basically can do it all, almost like a modern machine, for so little money, like you wouldn't believe. And the only reason why they're so cheap is like, oh my God, they have a green screen. You know, it's not in color, it's not huge. You're not being asked. You don't have to, I don't know, you don't have to 3D animate stuff on it, even though it does have a simulation. So, excellent machine. So the reason this machine was sold off, or one of the reasons, well, there were several reasons, but one of the reasons was that there was an error message on the screen, which is, by the way, this control is a Sinumerik 820, which is technically inside pretty much the same as the 810, but it's got the bigger screen, it's got a bigger front keypad with a full alphanumeric keyboard. And so it was a bit more expensive, but the technical side behind it is pretty much the same. Now, again, for educational purposes, this is great, because it's pretty big, even I can read it, and if you have a bunch of students around you, they can actually see stuff what you're talking about. This particular front panel in this machine is an aftermarket one, because the original Siemens front panels, they were made of this brittle plastic and they would always break around the corners, which I'm pretty sure happened here too. So I guess they called the service people when they did something or whatever, and they installed an aftermarket front keypad. There is a company in Austria, I believe, that does these. They also do them for the 810 and probably many other, but I don't know those. And it was converted to a flat screen in the same sitting, I guess. This could be converted to a color monitor quite easily. You need one additional card, which is like, I don't know, $10 on eBay. And I think actually the flat screen would accept the color input without any changes, I would assume. Now the reason this was decommissioned, or one of the reasons this was decommissioned, it had a warning message up here, battery alarm. The battery alarm is a message that comes when the memory battery goes low. So I got the machine. I was always expecting that all the data was lost. Luckily that was not the case, or actually it didn't matter, but it was not lost. I turned the machine on, and when the machine is on, I removed the battery compartment and looked inside, and I changed the batteries, and nothing improved. It was still battery alarm, and I was like, what's going on here? I don't understand. And then I looked more closely, and there is a idiosyncrasy on these controls that you have to sort of know, or at least you have to be able to read stickers, because these machines and the older machines I already showed, they have a 3.6 volt battery in it, an accumulator, a rechargeable battery, and a nickel cadmium battery, not a lithium battery, even though that often gets confused. And if that battery, so it's being recharged anytime you turn the machine on, and when the battery degrades, the maximum voltage goes low, or when it's not, and when it reaches a certain value, and I think I have to look it up, 3.1 or something volts, there's a value in the documentation, then you will get a battery alarm, and then you're not supposed to turn the machine off anymore and replace the battery. But sometime in, I don't know, 89, 90 or so, Siemens changed that, and they no longer have rechargeable batteries in the control. Now they have the standard 1.5 volt batteries in there, but 3 of them. So that is 4.5 volts. And they're not rechargeable. So if you have, but nevertheless, if you install those into an older machine, then the recharging won't really do anything, and it might probably destroy the battery. So it took me like 2 or 3 times change the battery until I noticed, oh wait a minute, this doesn't take rechargeable batteries, it just takes standard batteries, which you're supposed to change every year. Now a good quality battery is nowadays like, I don't know, 50 cents, so you have to spend $1.50 every year to put new batteries into that thing. Put that thing, error went away, machine functions perfectly, no issues, almost no issues, and this is what you have. At the trade school, they also put a new window in. They had rebuilt the Sauter revolver. There are also pictures in the documentation which showed that they had a massive, lots of teeth were missing in there. It does have some hours on it. I think it has like over 9,000 power on hours, which for CNC lathe isn't really that much, or not much at all. It does have an 8-station turret with VDE20 tooling. So VDE20 is it's small, but at least it's available. It's got a hydraulic power chuck. It's got a hydraulic steady rest. It's a hydraulic ram, so to speak. The problem is that since it requires hydraulic power, there is a hydraulic pump going on in the background. Not right now, because I have only the control turned on, but not so much of the machine. And that is a bit of a, it's not nice to always have this hydraulic pump going. So if you have a machine with a pneumatic chuck, the noise is only where the air is being made, but not at the machine. So yeah, it's a bit of a trade-off, I guess. I had some real problems operating this machine in the beginning, because this is one of those machines that are extremely safe to operate. And the what we would call in English the OSHA stuff is abundant, very much abundant on this machine. And you have to know what buttons to push in what order, and sometimes what buttons have to push twice for this machine to work. Also, even though Kern actually made much better documentation than Siemens ever did or Weiler ever did. There's really good manual with it, there's teaching material with it. The trade school made their own manuals for it with step-by-step instruction. Push this button, turn this key, step on this foot pedal. And even though with all of this, I was confused quite a long time, because they were missing little things like, okay, it says like to operate the power chuck, step on the foot pedal, which I would do and nothing would happen, because I did not mention that you also have to turn the key, the right key at the right point in time. And if you want to move the machine in the jog mode, you also have to operate this key. So, and then at the right point in time, you have to put the reset button, or if you get an error message, you have to cancel the error. So, and of course, if you do something that is supposed to be not only be done by somebody who knows what they're doing, then you have to also turn this key at the right point in time. And so that was extremely confusing to me, because I'm stupid. Not always, but sometimes. And to top it all off, at the end of the power chuck, there is the usual proximity switches that have to be adjusted just right. And even in the handwritten, it's a homemade manuals of the trade school that it was described how to do it, but I didn't really understand it. And you can actually go into the PLC parameters to check if everything is set up correctly. So very complicated. Now, I think it's a 92 machine. For that model year, it is quite advanced. It has the latest Siemens drives in it. I forget the designation right now. So when I got it, they didn't know it, but it had been sitting for a year, and then one of the access drives didn't work. So I bought that on eBay for, I think, for 68 euros, and then I bought another one just to be on the safe side because it's cheap. There are other modules in there, but I don't know what this Zwischenkreisen do. I don't even know what that does, but that is significantly more expensive. So I should really be keeping my eyes open for those modules. But you know, knock on wood, right now it's excellent. It came with a lot of tooling included in that same price. They were very nice to me because they didn't need it anymore anyway. And so it came with a full collet set with tons of tool holders. It has the original microscope because you can put a microscope here in here, and then you can automatically, with a semi-automatic function, you can set your tools, which I actually have to do again because I just adjusted the turret. The turret, if you move it too far down into the X, it will actually hit the tailstock, which is sort of stupid. And I thought I could fix it with a setting value, but that didn't really work. But okay, so I had to readjust the turret. It was ready to play for 2,500 euros, and oh my God, you know, why was I the only one interested in this machine? I do not understand it. Okay, I mean, it does not have live tooling, and it doesn't have a Y-axis. But okay, yeah, but not every machine has that, even nowadays. That's very expensive. Now, if this machine wouldn't have an 820 in it, but it would have an 840C or D in it, it would probably have been 4 times that price because people wanted to color screen, you know, and it has to be fancy. And if somebody sees the model year designation 1992, then they think, oh, it's old. Well, I have to admit, at my age, 1992 does not seem that old. I mean, I have t-shirts that are older than that, maybe even socks. So yeah, what else is to say about this machine except that I do love it? Let me show you the noise level when the hydraulic pump is going. There is a switch on the side. So I turned on the switch on the side. So once I had turned it off, it's called the brake mode, the pause button, which turns off this noise level because if you write a program, you don't need all that function. Now currently I'm doing something stupid. I have to make tiny little rivets because if I order them, it would take me 3-4 days for them to get here, which wouldn't be before the weekend, and I'm leaving on the weekend, so I'm doing stupid work. But yeah, hey, what the heck, you know? I can open this like this. I have to turn the key over, then I can step on the panel. Nothing happens. So this is obviously okay. So I have to turn the key back, otherwise I get an error message, which confused me for a really long time. So this is a really simple program. It's just 2 tools. But you know, where do I find a 2.5mm brass rivet on a Thursday afternoon? Yeah, and I need like 15 or so. And you know what I'm using for my bar stock is our own screws, or actually, you know, threaded rods. So I'm not sure if I can even get 15 out of that. Now, while the machine is running, I can actually see where I am at. So this gives me the position. This is telling me what line of code I'm currently in. And I can actually also, I could actually write another program while this program is going on. I can also go into simulation mode. After this part has run, let me show you the simulation, which is very basic. It's like, you know, let's see, when was this? In the early 80s, you know, when you went to the mall, you would have like arcade games with Space Invaders and Pac-Man. And I remember, you know, Tyson's Corner Mall, there was a store where you actually could go down to the basement and they had a Space Invader and a Pac-Man. And if you rub your feet on the carpet and the coin touched the slot, you would get a free game. So I got to be pretty good at both of those games. So it's done now. Oh yes, I wanted to show you the simulation. So simulation, this is a Kern's program. Actually, I could switch it to English, no problem. I go to edit, I go to simulation. Yeah, so this is all of the program. This is the and then of course the cutoff. This error message is because there's a sub-program. I don't have a feed speed, and I'm simulating the sub-program right now. Is that a true statement? Yes, the L15 is a sub-program. So in the 810, 820, and I think in all of the 800 series of Siemens, so this is a sub-program. If I want to go, so it's L15, L is always a sub-program. So if I want to see now the program, the main program, I have to go to Edit, select Program. So now I have the main program file, the NPF. So I can also simulate. So what you see here is a one-line cycle code. So if this were a CAM program, you'd have like, I don't know, this will probably be 50 or 100 lines of code already. In my program, it's basically one line. And I can select, you know, anything, any dimension or how often and whatnot. And this is just very rough. I'm working brass. So, but this is the level of simulation fidelity on this machine, which of course compared to modern machines is very low fidelity. It's not as rewarding, and I can understand if a young kid comes out of the trade school having learned here, you know, Zerspannungsmechaniker, CNC operator, and they are being put on the machine with a green screen, they probably have an allergic reaction or something because they want to have the same quality as on their iPhone. Okay, but that does not make this machine any less utilitarian in the end. It's a bit more agricultural, but it works. I have a tractor that is also very agricultural and it runs perfectly. So if from the home shop, for that money, incredible, unbeatable. I mean, it's even got the tailstock, which is invaluable if you want, you gotta have if you want to make any type of shafts. There is also the bigger version of this machine, but it's already too big. But it has a lot more distance between the centers and can you do longer shafts. So this is not really for very long work. But hey, I think it's very cool machine. I love the damn thing. Yeah, I'm happy and I can recommend it.